Greetings, comrades. And it's been a busy week, so I don't have a long, elaborate video today. In fact, I haven't had the chance to really game much at all this week. But when I have had the time, I've been playing a little game that I've had languishing in my Steam wishlist for a while. War of Rights. I had been waiting for a sale on this one, and finally, the Steam Summer Sale gave me the chance to pick this game up at a discounted price. That, among many other games, which may or may not be featured in the coming weeks. A lot of the concepts around the game intrigued me. A Civil War shooter with massive player counts, something we definitely haven't seen a lot of. So I put it on my wish list, waiting for an opportune time. Well, comrades, that time has come. And I don't know if you would consider this a full-blown review, as I haven't put enough hours into it to make a definitive judgment. However, I will be talking about aspects of the game that I enjoy and don't enjoy so far. Just bear in mind, these may or may not be applicable in the long term. So let me tell you about when I started out my first battle. I was thrust into a company within the Confederate Army. The game was pretty overwhelming at first. I spawned in the middle of a field with gunfire and people screaming all around me. Above the noise, there was a clear voice commanding the men to fall in line and return fire. And this is what I did. Falling in line with the men around me, I began the arduous process of reloading my musket. As I quickly learned, you don't spawn in with a loaded musket. Before I had even had a chance to aim though, the officer had moved the company forward to a better position. Without hesitation, the bulk of the 30 men around me began to march towards the line on the ground the officer had placed. Not wanting to fall behind, I did the same. We reached the position, and the officer then told us to hold our fire, which again the men did, with men even around me repeating the officer's order to ensure it was heard. We then took aim on his mark and fired a mighty volley into the Union troops that were pouring fire onto our position. I began to feel much less overwhelmed as I realized that all I really had to do was follow the officer's orders, and I could figure out things from there. It also made it much easier when all the people around me were following his orders too, and even encouraging everybody else to do the same. It was at this point that I believe the true beauty of the game began to reveal itself, as I'd never played a game with a community that took chain of command so seriously, and this game is vastly better for it. There are systems in place as well to incentivize people to stay together. For example, you lose less morale, quote unquote tickets, when you fall in battle in line formation, as opposed to off in the wilderness on your own. Even then, the system wouldn't work without community buy-in, and they buy in hard. After my first game, I was eager to jump in again and again. Each battle feeling like its own little self-contained chapter within a grander narrative, rife with events that seemed only possible due to the systems of this game and the community that inhabits it. For example, once when I was playing as the Union, our officer gave us an order to charge up to a stone wall and take cover. However, somehow this order got interpreted just as charge, and on command, like we were reenacting the charge of the Light Brigade, the company charged past the wall, and in a suicidal display of will, we charged right into a formation of tightly packed Confederates and were completely massacred. It was a fun and hilarious moment, made even better by the fact that War of Rights has proximity-based voice chat, so you can hear all your comrades talking, as well as the enemy. All of this adds to the thrill and intensity of battles. In addition, you can still speak yourself until your corpse respawns. When I first started playing, I could hear death rattles from people around me, and I thought it was initially just part of the game. It wasn't until later that I realized These were players just fucking around, waiting to respawn. And it is without a doubt so far that these social aspects are the most enjoyable part of the game. It certainly needs that, as you need something to do to pass the time while you're waiting for your musket to reload. So you may as well shoot the shit with the people beside you. It's in this way that it almost reminds me of an FPS equivalent of going fishing with the boys. It's more about the social experience. If you catch something, that's great, but it wasn't necessarily about that. It's about hanging out, drinking, and bonding. That's what I feel like War of Rights is like. With many other FPS games, you don't really have the opportunity to do this. Your characters move fast, your guns shoot fast, you reload fast. None of this exists in War of Rights, and again, it's a better game for it. The immersion is further enhanced with excellent visuals and sound design. The crack and thunder of simultaneous musket fire is a thing of beauty. Plus, the attention to detail on the weapons and uniforms will get the seal of approval of just about any Civil War enthusiast. The game is, however, held back by poor performance. Even on my beefy rig, I was getting slowdown once the bodies started to pile up and the smoke was billowing around the battlefield. While my time with War of Rights is not over, I can already see where my main complaints will start to emerge. The issue with the game is that it relies on its social aspects, in the same way as any other game that relies on its social aspects. If it doesn't have people, or said people are junk, then the game simply isn't enjoyable. Like, at all. Especially with a game like War of Rights, which relies on a certain critical mass of players to come together and truly unlock its potential. Without that, well, the game is borderline unplayable. I have been fortunate in the sense that every time I've logged in, there has been at least one server that has had that critical mass of players, but there could be a time when that isn't guaranteed. And it makes me worried that if the game sees a significant drop in players, it won't be able to limp along like other shooters with smaller player counts per match. War of Rights would effectively become a dead game. I also have another worry that I'll run into a similar problem with War of Rights that I did with Hell Let Loose, that I'll always be chasing this amazing high of the games I've played, but over time it will become harder and harder to find that high until the whole experience becomes more frustrating than fun. But that's part of the reason why I wanted to highlight the game today. War of Rights is a truly unique game with unique experiences to offer. Nothing I've played before comes even close to the level of immersion I felt in this game. And if you've ever wondered what it was like to be an infantryman in the Civil War, well, you'll find no better way to experience that than War of Rights. And because of that, I hope this game never dies. And just to be clear, I'm not saying that it's dying right now or anything like that. It's more just potential issues that could rear their ugly head in the future. But for now, the game has enough players to keep finding a match a relatively simple process. In any case, while I know this game isn't for everybody, but for the right person, this game is truly a surreal experience and well worth checking out. It deserves to find as many people as possible whose allure it will appeal to. And if what I have described sounds like something that's up your alley, then, well, at least for now, as of recording, the Steam sale is still on, so maybe you can check it out. In any case, I hope you guys enjoyed this shorter video style. Like I've mentioned before, it's a big goal of mine to do more gaming videos, so I'm experimenting with different styles and different types of content to make that happen. And like I said, there may be many more of these shorter types of videos in the future, as I've just recently picked up a bunch of games and I'm kind of shotgunning through them right now. Not playing any of them super deeply. In any case, that's it from me. So, This is the Comrade, signing off for now. Until next time, you guys take care.